Hi, welcome back to Movie Review Mom. And if this is the very first time you visited my YouTube channel, welcome. I'm so glad you found me. I hope you like what you see and I hope you stay. And I also hope you subscribe. And while you're at it, ring that little bell and it'll notify you every time I upload a new movie review or trailer reaction, which is almost every single day. All right, so today the movie I'm reviewing is called The World to Come. It's available on March 2nd, 2021 in theaters and video on demand, specifically on Apple TV, Fandango Now, Vudu, and Google Play. So the movie is rated R. It's an hour and 38 minutes. And the movie review mom grade I'm giving it is a B, and I'll explain why. First, I'll give you an overview in a nutshell. I'll point out things I liked and didn't like, as well as tips for parents and even some movie recommendations for other movies that you might like as much or even better than this one. All right, so in a nutshell, this is another film by Mona Fastvold and features a lesbian love story on the American frontier in upstate New York. So you need to know that before you watch this in case you're not interested in the content. So my goal here at Movie Review Mom is to give you the scoop on filmmaking quality as well as content so that you can make the best decision for you and your family as to what films you want to spend your time and money on. So because of the content, this may not be everyone's cup of tea. However, there are some fantastic performances in it. So I first saw the director's work in the movie called The Mustang, which I really enjoyed. And it was based on a true story. And so while this movie isn't necessarily a true story, it certainly could have been. She presents a film that perfectly illustrates the seasons of the year in the harsh East Coast of the United States, as well as the seasons of life and the emotions of the soul. It's based on the book, The World to Come, a novel by Jim Shepard, and he also wrote the screenplay along with Ron Hansen. It's an extremely melancholy drama, and it'll make you feel exhausted, sad, surprised, and touched by the story. All right, so let me give you some things that I liked about the movie. First of all, the entire movie was shot in a national park in Romania. I always love to travel when I watch movies. Every single set piece was out of this whole village that is basically the background for the story, or the setting was designed by Jean-Vicente Puzo and built from scratch by the production team. I just think that's really cool. A friend of mine from high school actually did that for many years in Los Angeles, in Hollywood. And I just think that that would have been a really fun career if I had construction skills. Anyway, Jean-Vicente Puzo was also the art director and production designer of another movie called The Lost City of Z. So I really enjoyed that movie, so you should check that one out as well. All of that setting means that the cinematography by Andrei Chimatov is just beautiful. All right, now talking about beautiful, let's talk about our two leading ladies. The first is Catherine Waterston, who is absolutely fantastic and even mesmerizing in moments. I've never seen her with long hair and dresses like this before. She carries the film with her pensive thoughts and subtle facial expressions that speak volumes. The narration in the movie actually comes to us in the written form of her journals. And I really liked that storytelling technique for this movie. I felt like it really matched the time period and added a beautiful element of poetry to the telling of the tale. The use and power of words and ideas is actually a really important theme of the movie. All right, next up is Vanessa Kirby, who's just beautiful and so versatile. I think the very first time I saw her was in the TV series The Crown, and she was excellent in that as well. Catherine Waterston's character refers to her skin as just glowing with undertones of lavender. And I was like, yes, that's so true. She's just glowing in this movie. And for another fantastic performance by Vanessa Kirby, be sure and check out the movie called Pieces of a Woman. She just got nominated for Best Actress for her role in that drama for a Golden Globe. Now, as of the filming of this movie review, the Academy Awards have not been announced yet, but I anticipate she will also get a nomination for Best Actress for an Oscar. So just a fantastic actress all the way around and a pleasure to watch. And apparently, she actually had a sprained ankle during the filming of this movie. A couple of times I noticed her hobbling. However, it kind of actually worked in the story. And so I just kind of assumed she was acting until I read that about her. These two leading women, I felt, had really good chemistry together. All right, so now let's talk about the leading men. First of all is Casey Affleck. He actually produced the movie and, of course, starred in it, although his role is pretty small. He always seems to play tortured men, like in the movie Manchester by the Sea. And this role is really no different from that. The other leading male is Christopher Abbott, who is a very good actor, but this role was really a kind of a one-note character. And my fear when I watch lesbian movies is that the men are going to be portrayed as horrible because, lesbians have a reputation of being man haters. And one of the men in this movie definitely fits that stereotype, and the other not so much. Just kind of a good guy who doesn't know any better and is trying. I always feel badly for actors who are given a one note character because there's not that much that they can do with the character. But still, I felt like both of the actors were fine. They were certainly not the highlight nor the focus of the movie. There is a beautiful layered musical score by Daniel Blumberg, which also includes some sounds of nature and adds a lovely element to what you're seeing on the screen. Now, I'm going to give you a tiny bit of a spoiler. So if you don't want to hear it, just plug your ears. La, 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 la. It's not a terrible spoiler, but there is a big reveal that shows the extent of the women's relationships. And it's not shown until basically the end of the movie, a fact that many critics have been complaining about, and some viewers too. Now, I thought it was kind of an odd choice for the placement for editing of the film, but I actually really liked it because I kind of had a preconceived notion of how things went with this relationship between these two women. And at the end, I was like, oh, okay. And so it just sort of surprised me a little bit and added some depth, which I thought was kind of missing throughout the movie. The title of the movie also was completely appropriate. If these two women had lived 150 years later, like today in upstate New York, they would have been completely free to live their lives together for the most part. Women in the 1850s really had very few rights and practically no voice, a fact that I thought the movie illustrated really well. Now, there were some things I didn't like the movie. First of all, the dialogue felt like it came out of a Jane Austen book or a book of poetry or something. It didn't seem that realistic to me. However, the other night, I just watched for the second time a movie called The Professor and the Madman. I don't know if you ever saw that, but two fantastic performances by Sean Penn and Mel Gibson. It's actually a true story about the creation of the Oxford English Dictionary, which reminded me of how rich the English language used to be. And I feel like the English language has certainly devolved since then. So I guess when I looked at these two women characters and saw that they were kind of on the lower end financially and maybe uneducated. I didn't think that it was realistic that they could talk that way. However, they might have talked that way back then. I don't know. Now, I don't watch a ton of lesbian movies. However, historical period piece lesbian movies have kind of been overdone in recent years. And so this movie doesn't really add anything new to the genre. With only a few hidden moments of unexpected happiness for these two women, the entire movie is really bleak and depressing. So, just a heads up, it's not the feel good movie of the year. Now, let me give you some tips for parents. And first of all, this is not a movie for kids. So I don't recommend it for family viewing for sure. First of all, the movie is rated R, and kids are going to really be bored by the subject matter anyway. You see a married couple going at it, rolling around in bed for a brief moment with some sound effects, and then you see two topless women making out in bed. So you don't really want your kids seeing either one of those scenarios. Now, there were plenty of themes that were beautifully addressed and worth talking about. First, friendship, love, and loss. And the love and loss isn't specifically just for a lesbian relationship. For example, one of the characters loses a daughter early in the movie due to death. So there's also the love and loss of marriage, a marital traditional relationship, and all of that kind of stuff. Courage, sorrow, intimacy, communication, and even parenting to some extent. All right, normally I write down the funny lines and then the inspiring lines when I watch movies, and I post them on my written review at moviereviewmom.com. So there were no funny lines that I could even think of to write down. This movie is pure drama. And there were some inspiring lines, but I found myself kind of getting sucked in listening to the language that I actually, honestly, for the first time, forgot to actually write them down. So sorry about that. But before we go, let me give you some movie recommendations. So as I was watching this, the first movie that came to my mind is a movie called Carol. It's actually based on a true story about one of the first men who wanted to become a woman and actually underwent surgery to transform physically into a woman. Fantastic performances in that movie. However, heads up, that is rated R and definitely not for family viewing either, as there is full on frontal nudity several times. So just saying. Then another movie that I want to recommend is one I haven't personally seen, but some lesbian friends of mine highly recommended it and said that it is a lovely lesbian romance. It's called Two of Us. So if you're into this genre and you haven't seen that, you might want to check that one out. All right, that is it for my movie review. Thanks so much for supporting me, and especially if you're going over to Patreon to drop a few pennies over there to help put my kids through college. I really appreciate that. But there are free ways to support my channel. One is by subscribing, so YouTube goes, oh, we think her channel's awesome. We should recommend it to everybody else. That's great. But also liking it, commenting down below, and telling all of your friends to subscribe. That's a free way to support me. And again, I really appreciate it. All right. If you watch this movie, I hope you enjoy it, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.